Govinda Jaya Jaya Gopala Jaya Jaya. O Radha Ramana Hare Govinda Jaya Jaya. Radha Ramana Hare Govinda Jaya Jaya. Jai Sachinandana Jaya Sachinandana Jai Sachinandana. O Jai Sachinandana Jaya Sachinandana. O Jaya Sachinandana Gaura Hari Jaya Sachinandana. O Jaya Sachinandana Gaura Hari Jaya Sachinandana. O Gaura 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 Hari. O Gaura 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 Hari. Patita Pavana Gaura Hari. Patita. O Patita Pavana Gaura Hari. Patita. O Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Oh Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. 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 Om Namaste Narasimhaya. Praladadadaine Hiranyakashipurvakshaha Utilatankanakhalaye Ito Narsima Parato Narsima Oyato Yato Yamitato Narsima Bahe Narsima Hridaye Narsima Narasingha Madin Saranam Prapate Ottabakara Kamalavare Nakha Adbhuta Shringa Dalita Hiranyakasipo Tanuvringa Kesavadreta Narahari Rupa Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Tavakara Adbhuta Shringam Dalita Hiranakasipu Tanuvringa Kesavadrita Narari Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Jaya Narsinga Dev Jaya Narsinga Dev Narsinga Dev Jaya Narsinga Dev Jaya Kishore Kishore Jaya Kishore Kishore Jaya Kishore Kishore Jaya Kishore Kishore Naka Jaya Baladeva Jaya Subhadra Jaya Sudakshana Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Bhagavatam, Jaya Bhagavatam, Srimad Bhagavatam, Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitya Gaur, Hari Bol, Nitya Gaur, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Okay. Hare Krishna, Shravan Prabhu. Can you hear me, Shravan Prabhu? Hare Krishna. Hare Bol. Hare Bol. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. I see signal is going. ఇప్పుడు ప్రభు. నమ ప్రభు. ఇప్పుడు హరే కృష్ణ హరే కృష్ణ కృష్ణ కృష్ణ. ఫర్ మీ ద బార్స్ ఆర్ మూవింగ్. For me, the bars are moving.
श्रीमद् राधा शील गोविंद देव प्रेतालिभिस्तेव्यमानो स्मरामि। श्रीमान् रासरसारम्भी वंशीवटा तटस्थितः कश्यन् वेणुस्वनैर्गोपैर्गोपीनाथ श्रियेस्तु नः। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैता गदाधरा श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा। कृष्णा हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। राम हरे हरे। भगवते वासुदेवाय मयादितरतस्यास्तेष्वभिज्ञास्वराट् तेने ब्रह्म हृदयादिकवये मुह्यन्ति यत्सूरयः। तेजो वारिमृडां यथा विनिमयो यत्र त्रिसर्गो मृषा धाम्ना कुहकं सत्यं परं धीमहि। धर्म प्रोज्झितकल्पगोत्र परमो निर्मत्सराणां सतां वेद्यं वास्तवमत्र वस्तु शिवदं तापत्रयोन्मूलनम्। श्रीमद्भागवते महामुनि कृते किं वा परैरीश्वरः सद्यो हृदि अवरुध्यते प्रकृतिभिः शुश्रूषु।
Maharaj class starting tarvata we have to start that. Until then we have to have our own life.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Shri Granthra Shrimam Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Namo Vishnu Padaja Krishna Prestaja Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirveshesha Shunyabhadi Pashatya Deshatarine. Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sri Vashadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sri Vashadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Kishore Kishori Jaya, Kishore Kishori Jaya, Kishore Kishori Jaya, Kishore Kishori. Jaya Jagannatha, Jaya Jagannatha, Jai Baladeva, Jai Subhadra. Jaya Gauranitai, Jaya Gauranitai, Gauranitai, Jaya Gauranitai. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Garantara Shrimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Shishi Kishore Kishori ki, Nitai Gaura Premanandi Hari Hari Bol.
Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayamudiraye. Before reciting this Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead, Narayana, unto Nara Narayana Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Dharma projita kaitavotra paramo nirmatsaranam satam devyam vatsavam atra vastu shivadam tapatrayanmolanam Srimad Bhagavate Mahamuni Krite Kimba Parayarishvara Sadyo Hridya Varudhyate Takritibhi Shushrushubhistakshana. Completely rejecting all religious activities which are materially motivated, this Bhagavata Purana propounds the highest truth, which is understandable by those devotees who are fully pure in heart. The highest truth is reality, distinguished from illusion, for the welfare of all. Such truth uproots the threefold miseries. This beautiful Bhagavatam, compiled by the great sage Vyasadeva in his maturity, is sufficient in itself for God realization. What is the need of any other scripture? As soon as one attentively and submissively hears the message of Bhagavatam, by this culture of knowledge, the Supreme Lord is established within his heart. Nigamakalpataror galitam phalam sukhamukadamritam dravasamyutam pibata bhagavatam rasamalayam muhuraho rasika bhuvi bhavuka. O expert and thoughtful men, relish Srimad Bhagavatam, the mature fruit of the desire tree of Vedic literatures. It emanated from the lips of Sri Shukadev Goswami. Therefore, this fruit has become even more tasteful, although its nectarian juice was already relishable for all, including liberated souls. Apanna samsritim ghoram yannanama vivashogranan tata satyo vimuchyeta yad bibheti swayam bhayam. Living beings who are entangled in the complicated meshes of birth and death can be freed immediately by even unconsciously chanting the holy name of Krishna, which is feared by fear personified. Yad pada samshaya sutta munaya prashramanaya sadya punnatya pasprishta swardhunya nusevaya. O Sutta, those great sages who have completely taken shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord can at once sanctify those who come in touch with them, whereas the waters of the Ganges can sanctify one only after prolonged use. Gova bhagavatastasya punya shloke dyakarmana shuddhi kamo nasrinyuyad Yasha Kalimalapaham. Who is there desiring deliverance from the vices of the age of quarrel, who is not willing to hear the virtuous glories of the Lord? Munaya sadhu prishtoham bhavadbhir lokamangalam yat krita krishna samprashno yehinatma suprasidati. O sages, I have been justly questioned by you. Your questions are worthy because they relate to Lord Krishna, and so are of relevance to the world's welfare. Only questions of this sort are capable of completely satisfying the self. Tasmadekena manasa Bhagavan Sattvatam Pati Shotavya Kirtitavyascha Dhyaya Pujascha Nityada. Therefore, with one pointed attention, one should constantly hear about, glorify, remember, and worship the personality of Godhead, who is the protector of the devotees. Yad anyodhyasina yukta karma granthi nibandanam chindanti kovidastasya kona kuryat katharatin. With sword in hand, intelligent men cut through the binding knots of reactionary work, karma, by remembering the personality of Godhead. Therefore, who will not pay attention to his message? Shushrusho Shraddhadanasya Vasudeva Katharuchi Syan Mahatsevaya Vipra Punyatirtha Nishevana. O twice born sages, by serving those devotees who are completely freed from all vice, great service is done. By such service, one gains affinity for hearing the messages of Vasudeva. Shrinvatam Swakata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Hridyantastohya Bhadrani Vidhunoti Suhrit Satam. Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who is the Paramatma, Supersoul, in everyone's heart, and the benefactor of the truthful devotee, cleanses desire for material enjoyment from the heart of the devotee who has developed the urge to hear his messages, which are in themselves virtuous when properly heard and chanted. Nashta prayeshva bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatyuttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Tadarajastamo bhava kamalobhadayaschaye chetaitaranavidham sthitam sattve prasidati. As soon as irrevocable loving service is established in the heart, the effects of nature's modes of passion and ignorance, such as lust, desire, and hankering, disappear from the heart. Then the devotee is established in goodness, and he becomes completely happy. Evam prasanna manaso bhagavad bhakti yogata bhagavad tattva vijnanam mukta sangasya jayate. Thus, established in the mode of unalloyed goodness, the man whose mind has been enlivened by contact with devotional service to the Lord gains positive scientific knowledge of the personality of Godhead in the stage of liberation from all material association. Vidyate hridaya.
Gopijana Balabha Girivadadhari Gopijana Balabha Girivadadhari Gopijana Balabha Girivadadhari Gopijana Balabha Girivadadhari Jasodanandana Brajachandranjana Jasodanandana Brajachandranjana Jamunatira Vanachadi Jamunatira Vanachadi Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabihadi Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabihadi Gopijana Vallabha Girivadadhari Gopijana Vallabha Girivara Dadi Jasodanandana Bratajanuranjana Jasodanandana Bratajanuranjana Jamuna Tiravana Chadi Jamuna Tiravana Chadi Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hadi Madhava Kunjabi Hadi Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hadi Madhava Kunjabi Hadi Jayom Vishnupat Paramahansa Parividakacharya Astatara Satasi Srimad His Divine Grace Sri Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Gaur Pimanandi. So welcome whoever is online on the occasion of Bhadra Purnima. It's a cloudy sky tonight, so I don't think we're going to see the full moon, at least here in the Chicago area. Maybe those of you that are in Houston, you'll be able to see the full moon. So online are three different congregations: the Chicago Temple, the Naperville Temple, and the Houston Temple. And we're all celebrating together as all around the world, well, almost all around the world, that we don't have temples in some places, or the ability to print Srimad Bhagavatam in the language of some of those places. But celebrating Bhadra Purnima is a very special function. It's special because the month of Bhadra is special. The appearance of Radharani comes in the Bhadra month. And many other, Krishna's appearance comes in the Bhadra month. Radharani comes in. The appearance of Lord Balaram comes in the previous month. But this particular Purnima is, you all know the purpose. We're honoring it especially because in the 12th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, it's honored as a very auspicious, such an auspicious occasion that if one makes as a gift a copy of this Srimad Bhagavatam on the occasion of Bhadra Purnima on a golden throne. Here we have I guess it's a golden throne. Then it's such an auspicious opportunity, occasion, that you'll return back to Godhead. So I'd like to spend some time for those of you that have not yet decided to make a contribution of Srimad Bhagavatam to someone on this auspicious day. You may become inspired. And those of you that have already done so, this is the gift that you're giving to others, some idea of some of the glories of Srimad Bhagavatam. That's what we'll be discussing this evening. And those of you that have already done so. The second verse of the entire Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 1, text number 2. If you know the verse, you can say it along with me. It's a well-known verse. It has several important parts. Dharmak projita kaitavotra paramo nirmatsaranam satam vedyam vastavam atra vastu shivadam tapatrayon modanam Srimad Bhagavate Mahamuni Krite Kimba Parayar Ishvaraha Sadyo Hridi Avarodhyatetra Kritibi Shushushubis Tatshanat. Nice sounding verse. Here's the meaning. Completely rejecting all religious activities which are materially motivated, this Bhagavad Purana propounds the highest truth, which is understandable by those devotees who are fully pure in heart. The highest truth is reality distinguished from illusion for the welfare of all. Such truth uproots the threefold miseries. This beautiful Bhagavatam, compiled by the great sage Vyasadeva in his maturity, is sufficient in itself for God realization. What is the need of any other scripture? As soon as one has attentively and submissively hears the message of the Bhagavatam, by this culture of knowledge, the Supreme Lord is established within his heart. Of course, he's already within our heart, but established within the heart means one can see him. One can feel his presence. Maya is taken away, the curtain of Maya is withdrawn, and one can see him established there in the heart. So in addition to Srimad Bhagavatam, speaking about Srimad Bhagavatam, here's several very interesting texts. This first one is from Garuda Purana. Multiple of the Puranas speak about how special Srimad Bhagavatam is. Here's what Garuda Purana says. This Srimad Bhagavatam is the most perfect Purana. It is the natural commentary on Srimad Bhagavatam, on Vedanta Sutra, excuse me. It establishes the meaning of Mahabharata. It is a commentary on Gayatri. It explains and expands the meaning of the Vedas. It is the Sama Veda of the Puranas. And it was spoken by the Supreme Lord himself. It has 12 cantos, hundreds of chapters, and 18,000 verses. In addition to other Puranas glorifying this Srimad Bhagavatam, it's giving some very specific characteristics or traits that this Bhagavatam is achieving. I'll just make mention of one. It's the Sama Veda of the Puranas. Now, there's 4 Vedas, and amongst the 4, Sama Veda is appreciated as being very melodious and sweet sounding to the ear. So this Bhagavatam, when recited, is like that. Someone's trying to get in. Oh, there we go. Okay. And its duration, 12 cantos, 18,000 verses. There's other Puranas that speak also about this Srimad Bhagavatam. Here's Skanda Purana. In Kali Yuga, what is the value of collecting hundreds of thousands of other scriptures if one does not keep Srimad Bhagavatam at home. So I hope you have one in your home. How can a person be considered a Vaishnav in Kali Yuga if Srimad Bhagavatam finds no place in his house? Even if he is a learned Brahmana, such a person should be considered lower than a dog eater, Skanda Purana says. Oh, learned Brahmana, Narada, wherever Srimad Bhagavatam is present in Kali Yuga, there the Supreme Lord goes, along with the demigods. A person who faithfully recites one verse of Srimad Bhagavatam every day, O sage, attains the fruit of reading the 18 Puranas. So don't just keep in your home, but read. And according to Skanda Purana, even one verse a day, one verse every day, you attain the fruit of having read all 18 Puranas. Here's Matsya Purana, speaks very highly of Srimad Bhagavatam also. That Purana is known as Srimad Bhagavatam, which explains the topmost principles of religion with reference to the Gayatri Mantra, and which tells of the killing of the demon Vritra. This Purana has 18,000 verses. And here's a similar verse to what we heard from Canto 12. Whoever writes out a copy of Srimad Bhagavatam, places it on a golden throne, golden lion throne, and presents it to someone on the full moon day in the month of Bhadra, will attain the supreme goal. Now, you don't have to write one. It's a lot of writing to write one, because previously there wasn't a printing press. And now with printing press, the equivalent is producing the entire text for others. Specific mention here is made of the killing of the demon Vritra. And the reason is that's not found in the other Puranas. It's exclusively found in the Bhagavad Purana. So just in case there's some uncertainty about which Purana we're referring to here, it's this one. And the story of Vritrasura is right in Canto 6, Srimad Bhagavatam. Now this statement from Matsya Purana is almost the same, quite similar to found in Skanda Purana and Agni Purana. I think you get the picture, starting to get the picture. All the Puranas, by name and with various qualities of Srimad Bhagavatam, honor the unique, special position amongst them all of Srimad Bhagavatam. There's another text in Padma Purana that speaks of the 12 cantos of Srimad Bhagavatam being the same as, not representing, but being the same as the body of Krishna. Because in the Bhagavatam itself, when Krishna departed shortly after, to protect and uphold religious principles, the Bhagavatam appeared. And the Bhagavatam is the form, literary form, of the Supreme Person. So you see on the left and the right side, 6 plus 6, 12 cantos. Here's what Padma Purana says. The Bhagavatam's first and second canto are the Lord Krishna's feet. Third and fourth cantos are his thighs. Fifth canto is his navel. Sixth canto is his chest. And the seventh and eighth cantos are his arms. The ninth canto is his throat. The 10th is his blossoming lotus face. The 11th his forehead, and the 12th his head. I bow down to that Lord, the ocean of mercy, whose color is like that of a tamal tree, and who appears in this world for the welfare of all. I worship him as the bridge for crossing the unfathomable ocean of material existence. Srimad Bhagavatam has appeared as his very self. Pretty unique. I appreciate the richness of the glorification of the other Puranas of Srimad Bhagavatam. It's just using a worldly example. Supposing you're a student at a university and you had a really important question. So you requested an audience to come before the deans of each of the departments of the university. You walk into the room and they honor your presence and you say, I'd like to ask, I've been given the opportunity to ask one question. And all of the persons in all the deans of all the departments turn to one individual and says, whatever your question is, ask him. He's the greatest authority amongst us. And that's not going to happen in academia. Those that are a little bit familiar with that scene. But if that were to happen, then there's no question. All the Puranas are accepting the superlative authority of Srimad Bhagavatam. And for good reason. There's another nice illustration of the 12 cantos. In each of the petals of those lotuses pictured there, it identifies a topic that's covered in cantos 1 through 12. Very systematic, very comprehensive. Here's a nice message from the Bhagavatam itself. One of the concluding questions in the first section of the Bhagavatam is, after Krishna departs this world, how are religious principles to be upheld and protected? And the answer is given here. Krishne Swadharmam Bhagate. This Bhagavad Purana is as brilliant as the sun. And it has arisen just after the departure of Lord Krishna to his own abode, accompanied by religion, knowledge, etc. Persons who have lost their vision due to the dense darkness of ignorance in the age of Kali shall get light from this Purana. Now this was spoken just after Krishna's departure and just as this present Yuga, Kali Yuga, was beginning. It's a literature that's especially, it's customized for our dark age. While it's like when the sun sets, here in Chicago, the sun is setting. The light in the sky is dimming and soon it'll be dark. So when it's the darkness of the night, in this dark age of Kali, how are we to get light? It's the highest knowledge presented in language and in a form that's very approachable and very appropriate for this age. It's transcendental literature, so you have to reach a bit, but that's good. Transcendence is something worthy to be reached for. But it gives light. It gives illumination. It gives enlightenment suitable for the people of this age. And fully transcendental, because in this transcendental position, can we do something with the air conditioning? It's pretty loud. It's a place of shelter for us, in short. In the Chandogya Upanishad. Sometimes people say, sometimes, scholars in particular like to say, the Vedas are Rig, Sama, Yajur, and Atharva Veda, and anything else than that doesn't qualify to be called Vedas. So we're speaking of Srimad Bhagavatam as a most exalted part of the Vedas. So that's in contrast with what scholars say. So here's a reference from amongst the Upanishads, amongst the 4 Vedas, there are Upanishad section, and the Chandogya Upanishad is especially revered from the Samaveda, where it says, Venerable Sir, I have studied the Rig, Yajur, Sama, and Atharva Vedas, and also the Itihasas and Puranas, which are the 5th Veda. So those of you that are familiar with the 4 Vedas, well, within the 4 Vedas, it says there's a 5th Veda. And the Puranas and Itihasas are the 5th Veda. And there's similar statements besides from the 4 Vedas themselves in Mahabharata, Bhavishya Purana, Bhagavad Purana, that also speaks of the same body of that which is Vedic. This Srimad Bhagavatam is within that same body of literature. Here's another from Brihat Aranyaka Upanishad that states, My dear Maitreyi, the Rig Veda, Yajur Veda, Samaveda, and Atharva Veda, the Itihasas or histories, the Puranas, the Upanishads, the Slokas or mantras chanted by the Brahmanas, the Sutras or accumulations and summarized summaries, accumulations and summaries of Vedic statements, as well as vidya, transcendental knowledge, and the explanations of the sutras and mantras are all emanations from the breathing of the great personality of Godhead. So this is a Vedic statement indicating confirmation that calling Bhagavad Gita Vedic literature is perfectly appropriate, because all of this Vedic literature, by definition, it's an emanation from the breathing of the personality of Godhead. And as he breathes, sound comes, and the sound of the Vedas is captured in these various texts. Here's from Srimad Bhagavatam. Just as the Ganga is the greatest of all rivers, Lord Achyuta, the supreme amongst the deities, and Lord Shambhu or Shiva, the greatest of Vaishnavas. So Srimad Bhagavatam is the greatest of all Puranas. This is from the concluding chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 12. We're familiar with this one, Vaishnavanam Yata Shambhu. That's where it comes from. And so, Tata, Puranam Idam Tata, this Srimad Bhagavatam is similarly the greatest. From the same chapter, Srimad Bhagavatam is declared to be the essence of all Vedanta philosophy. One who has felt satisfaction from its nectarian mellow will never be attracted to any other literature. Now, almost all of us in the room here are from India. There's 2 of us that aren't. But those of you that are from India, you know what traditional South Indian weddings are like. I just want to share a little story. There's a devotee, very nice devotee, who is from South India, from the Iyer Brahmin family. Iyer means they're worshippers of Lord Shiva. His family, his whole line for generations. And the wife, same, Iyer Brahmin tradition, so they married. Both ISKCON devotees. And at the time of their torturous 3-day wedding, and not just like, you know, little ceremony over here and, okay, let's have nice kirtan and prasadam. It was one of those laborious things. So this devotee shared with me, he saw over on the side, without a book in his hand, his grandfather reciting something the whole 3 days. So out of curiosity, he just asked politely his grandfather, what was it that you were reciting for 3 days? And he said, Srimad Bhagavatam. And he was very surprised, but, you know, Grandpa, you know, were higher Brahmins. He said, you know me, my whole lifetime, I've just been reading books and reading books and reading books. And you, when you got involved in ISKCON, I thought, let me read some of your books. So I got a copy published by the BBT of Srimad Bhagavatam. And as I started reading Srimad Bhagavatam, I became so attracted that I had lost attraction for any of the other literature. I just only read Srimad Bhagavatam now. And I've been memorizing it. And so I thought it'd be nice for your wedding. I could just recite chapter after chapter after chapter after chapter after chapter for 3 days from memory of Srimad Bhagavatam. And I have no attraction for anything else anymore. So may we get some of that attraction. But the literature is it's Srimad. It's very sweet, very beautiful, very melodious, very profound, very attractive. From Matsya Purana and Shiva Purana, something similar in Matsya Purana, it says, the ingenious Lord condensed it and then divided it. As Veda Vyasa. The Puranas, 400,000 verses. And they still comprise 1 billion verses. So out of the 400,000 verses, 400,000 is Srimad Bhagavatam. But in the heavenly planets, 400,000 becomes 1 billion. So if we don't go back to Godhead, to the heavenly planets, Srimad doesn't say how many verses are there in the heavenly planets, but significantly more, if it's at all proportionate, 400,000 to 1 billion. So many things found in our present Srimad Bhagavatam that are, there's highlights, but not all detail, even within one story. And here's a nice example. In Canto 1, there's a description of chapter 13. There's a description of Vidura going on pilgrimage. In Canto 3, the person who heard Vidura went on pilgrimage, where did he go? He heard from Maitreya. What did he hear? What was the conversation? Comes in Canto 3. And then the conversation that took place before that conversation is in Canto 11. point I'm making is that there's things that are presented in Srimad Bhagavatam are not all chronological, but it's quite logical because some ideas are more expanded and comprehensive, so that comes a little bit later. And essenced pieces are over here, and a tiny little piece is over here. You just wiggle the tiny piece and it expands. So if there's more questions asked by sages or Maharaj Parikshit, or however the format is set up, it's the understandings can expand and expand and expand. But what we have in Srimad Bhagavatam is sufficient to go back to Godhead. Prabhupada said when he came to America, he came just with Canto 1, and he packed it up with everything he said. Everything that you need to know to go back to Godhead is there in Canto 1. So read it again and again and again and again, and then Canto 2, and stay at the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord, and then go to the other cantos. Here's Srila Prabhupada examining one of the publications of Srimad Bhagavatam when it was made available. This is his room in Los Angeles. This is the 7th canto cover. Here's 5th canto, examining the text and the color plates. And he very much enjoyed receiving the printing and having the volumes distributed and having our devotees read. Now here's some further glorification, and we'll wrap it up for now. Srimad Bhagavatam is the spotless Purana. It is most dear to the Vaishnavas because it describes the pure and supreme knowledge of the Paramahamsas. This Bhagavatam reveals the means for becoming free from all material work, together with the processes of transcendental knowledge, renunciation, and devotion. Anyone who seriously tries to understand Srimad Bhagavatam, who properly hears and chants it with devotion, becomes completely liberated. Prabhupada was very dedicated to making his Srimad Bhagavatam and other literature available to the world. He wanted us to have it, to read it, to share its contents with others, and bring light into this dark age of Kali. He had great faith in the Srimad Bhagavatam and in the holy name. He spoke it strongly and vibrantly. He lived it, and he wanted us to receive it. So this is Bhadra Purnima. I was supposed to speak for 25 to 30 minutes. I've gone over a little bit. These are some of the glories of Srimad Bhagavatam. Now in the Houston temple, they have come close to their target, something like 8 to 10 sets shy of their target for this particular event, the Bhadra Purnima event. Here in Naperville, there's an annual target, right? Not specifically just for the Bhadra Purnima event. So please participate, and Chicago Temple similarly. They have an annual target, and they're a little more than a third of the way, so they need persons to participate to meet the goal. And the goal is to make an offering to Krishna, to the disciplic succession, to our founder Acharya, who translated with great effort this the verses and the commentary, along with some of his disciples, to give to the world this Srimad Bhagavatam. One of the Bengali-speaking devotees shared this with me. They were listening to a class in Mayapur, a morning class in Mayapur, which comes over here in the evening. And it was in Bengali. At the end of the Bengali class, there was an appeal made that Jai Pataka Maharaj wants sponsors to sponsor books to give to libraries and universities around West Bengal. So please come forward and make some donations so we can have these books to give to the world at large. So similarly, consider, I'll assume, many of you, if not most of you, already have Srimad Bhagavatam. There's lots of people that don't. And there's lots of darkness in this age of Kali. And there's what did we as Vaishnavas to do about this darkness? There's not a lot of options. Not a lot of pleasant ones. But it's our response to the darkness of the age of Kali is to bring light. People are doing ignorant things because they're misguided. They're unfortunate. They're very disturbed. They're hurting themselves and one another. We have to do something. And our something primarily is this: bring transcendental wisdom into the atmosphere of this earth planet where we're living. And it's not a temporary solution, it's a permanent solution to this dark age of Kali and the circumstances of the world in which we find ourselves. Vigorously, it's urgent. And so please consider. Now, my understanding is I'm going to stop speaking, and in each location, allow someone who is an MC to do what you need to do, to encourage people to come forward and make their commitments to sets of Srimad Bhagavatam locally. So it's, I guess, go ahead.
Would like to acknowledge about 50 sponsors for our Bhadra Purnima Srimad Bhagavatam sponsorship.
Really? 50?
Yes.
Fantastic.
And we can always use more, Maharaj.
Well, that's your target. Saranga Thakur shared with me that your target was 50 and you were almost there, but now you're there. So keep going.
Thank you. The following devotees have sponsored Bhadra Purnima program. Rohit Malia, Parampara Prabhu and his family. Devalina Ghosh, Devesh Pandya, Harita Kannaboina, Gopika Ranganathan.
He's going to read
Kalindi
50
Devi,
names.
Prasanadma Prabhu and family, Radha Vallabh Prabhu and family, Radha Krishna Prabhu, Nila Madhava Prabhu and family, Chaitanya Chandra Prabhu and family, Saranga Thakur Prabhu and family, Mamata Dham, Abhay Charan Prabhu and family, Ishu Gautam and family, Harivallabh Prabhu and family, Sri Devi, Manmathananda Prabhu and family, Tejas and family, Raghava Perumal and family, Prerit Vyas, Guru Bhakti Devi and Sarvabhauma Prabhu, Amarendra Prabhu and family, Jagadish Lagisetti, Ved Niche Namalta, Ramakrishna Medela, Vinod Ray and family, Pradeep Sharma and family, Murli Manohar Prabhu and Sashimukhi Devi and family. So that's about 50 donors so far. and more sponsorship is available. Rajendra Prabhu and family have added on. So since we have 51, as Maharaj said, that was the target, but we can certainly go above and beyond.